Hello and welcome to our presentation on Apple Inc. Today's final report is presented to you by Claire Hughes, Luke Humphreys, Tyler Waller, and Joshua Mikas. First off, we're going to talk about Apple's vertical integration strategy. Apple is essentially four diverse companies working together under one roof. They are a software creator, a hardware designer, a services company, as well as a retail giant all in one. Although Apple certainly outsources some of its manufacturing processes, each major step along the supply chain is controlled by Apple. For example, Apple designs the iPhone's hardware, then it optimizes its software to perfectly match that hardware, then it equips that device with a bevy of its own services, and finally, Apple sells the products through its own retail stores and online outlets. This process is not only true for the iPhone, but across each of its product lines. In regards to Apple's competition, the process is completely different. For example, a company like Motorola will design the hardware of a smartphone, then Google will come in and optimize a version of its Android software for that device, and then a bevy of third-party services will be added to the device. And finally, a multitude of retail stores will be selected to sell the products to the end customers. Apple's vertical integration strategy has allowed for the company to have their hands on each and every step of its processes. This makes everything about its devices uniquely Apple. The strategy has also allowed Apple to create services that not only are exclusive to Apple devices, but are the fuel to an ecosystem that connects its entire product line. In 2003, Apple released the first version of iTunes, which was a revolutionary internet-based music store. The iTunes software created a digital hub which served as a means of syncing the computer to an iPod with ease. The combination of the music store and the desktop software were features that differentiated Apple and provided great success to the iPod. Although iPod sales have declined and iTunes was challenged by other internet-based music services, this was the birth of its proprietary software services. If you wanted an iPad, you were going to use iTunes to sync it, plain and simple. Piggybacking off the success of iTunes, Apple introduced its own application software in 2008 for the iPhone. This service was the App Store. By introducing the App Store, originally as a part of iTunes, Apple was able to transition that huge following to its newest online store. For the time, the process of distributing and downloading applications to mobile devices was made extremely simple as well as direct. In 2011, Apple paid tribute to its original successes with iTunes Digital Hub for desktop as they geared up to launch a new service which would be known as iCloud. With iCloud, Apple had a vision of creating an internet-based hub for its computers, phones, MP3 players, as well as its future product lines. Instead of storing data via hardware, the cloud made it so that your pictures, music files, as well as other data could all be stored in one place on the web. This service would become the ultimate means for the seamless synchronization of each and every one of Apple's devices that a consumer owned. Other than the music store branching out to other operating systems, Apple's created its services to work only on its own devices. By doing so, the company has developed an ecosystem that has become its greatest competitive advantage.
The personal computer put Apple on the map. While it is not the most successful in the industry, nor will be, this was the backbone of Apple and allowed the company to continue to grow other product lines that we see today. In 2014, Apple had a market share of 6.4% in the personal computer industry. Their market share proved to be successful within the company, but compared to competitors, this was not the case. Wintel is the biggest competitor, controlling the majority of the market share within the industry. The case states that Wintel controls 58.9% market share, but due to missing data, it actually controls more. Apple differentiates itself by creating its own proprietary system, producing a special microprocessing system within a unique operating system. The personal computer industry is in the maturity phase of the life cycle. PCs have been used by consumers for years and will continue to have steady demand. While Apple may not hold significant market share within the industry, they continue to manufacture personal computers. This industry will be in high demand for years to come and will not see the decline phase for quite some time. The iPhone has been the most successful product Apple has offered. In 2014, the net sales of the iPhone and related products and services reached 101,991, making it the highest selling product. Apple has continued to release new models of the iPhone, keeping customers interested and wanting the newest model. Apple also has falling component costs and design improvements with each innovation helping reduce the overall cost structure. Although the iPhone is the most successful product Apple has to offer, it does not have the largest worldwide smartphone market share. Samsung is leading the industry with 24.5% market share, with Apple trailing behind at 14.8% market share. Lenovo comes in third with market share of 7.4%. The remaining market share is split between other various players within the industry. The smartphone industry is in the maturity life cycle. Consumers have been using smartphones for a decent amount of time. Competitors have come in and out of the market with new and improved technology, while those who could not survive have been pushed out. With technological advances at an all-time high, the smartphone industry is expected to thrive for many years to come. Apple continues to innovate by creating upgraded iPhone models every 12 to 15 months. After the first model, over the next 6 years, each model was thinner, faster, more intelligent, and included different form factors. Siri was introduced in 2010, which listened and responded to voice-activated demands. In 2012, Apple introduced a larger screen size and continued to increase size, resulting in the 6 and 7 Plus models. With each new generation of product, Apple has also dropped the price of prior generations. The combination of big subsidies, low prices on older models, and expanded distribution caused revenues and unit volumes to explode. The success of the App Store speaks for itself. Within the first 18 months, there were 4 billion applications downloaded. The success only continued, with 2014 producing 1.4 million available apps with 75 billion downloads. Revenues reached 10.2 billion from the sale of music, books, videos, and applications. With such a successful industry, competition was bound to happen. Google created an app store called Play Store, which launched in 2008. On top of that, in 2014, the number of Android apps surpassed the number of apps available through Apple. Although competition is present, Apple maintains a competitive advantage in the premium market due to software developers having to make numerous versions of the same app for Android phones. The App Store contributes to the integration throughout the company. Each product line includes the App Store and allows for consumers to download apps from each device. The industry lifecycle is in the maturity phase since it has been offered with almost every product. Since Apple is continuing to innovate and create new products, the App Store will continue to grow with each new innovation.
In 2010, Apple launched the iPad and sold 450,000 units within the first week. By 2014, Apple became the leader in the tablet industry, obtaining 27.6% market share. Some of the competitors in the tablet market includes various manufacturers that operate with Android, Amazon with modified versions of Android, and Microsoft Windows-based tablets. The iPad's usage model was superior to its competitors and was designed to be more intuitive and easier to use than a PC. In 2013, the iPad reached its peak, netting $31,980,000 in net profits. After tremendous growth in its first 3 years, tablet sales began to lose momentum in 2014. Unit sales declined by 5% and net revenues were down 4%. In this slowing market, Apple remained the market leader, followed by Samsung, Asus, Lenovo, and Amazon. To spur sales on the iPad, Tim Cook partnered with IBM to develop enterprise apps designed for the iPad and iPhone to enlist IBM's sales force and business connections to sell Apple mobile devices to enterprise customers. iPhone and iPads was present in 90% of the Fortune 500, but the rate of penetration was low, providing Apple with a huge opportunity to advance mobility in the enterprise. After Jobs had revolutionized music, phones, and computing, Apple fans were waiting for what revolutionary technology Cook had up his sleeve. In 2015, the Apple Watch had been released. Apple was not the first in the category, but it was expected to become the largest. Prices started at $349 for the basic model and ranged as high as $17,000 for an 18-karat gold model. Since Apple was not the first in the industry, significant competition already existed. The pioneer in the industry was a startup called Pebble, which shipped the first real smartwatches in 2012 for both iOS and Android and sold for as little as $150. Also, Google announced Android Wear in 2014, which extended the Android platform to the watches. Manufacturers such as LG, Motorola, and Samsung then introduced watches based on the Android platform. The same day Cook announced the Apple Watch, he also introduced Apple Pay, Apple's new mobile payment system. When it was announced, most of the nation's largest banks and credit card companies had signed on to support it. By 2015, dozens of retailers, including Walgreens, McDonald's, Macy's, and Whole Foods, had pledged to accept Apple Pay in their stores. Apple hoped that the combination of security and convenience would encourage rapid uptake on the technology. By early 2015, nearly 2 million customers at two of the nation's largest banks, Bank of America and Chase, had added credit or debit cards to their Apple Pay accounts. Apple continually releases innovative products and captures the most market share in each of the market segments. The organization designs a better customer experience through complete desktop solution including hardware, software, and peripherals that allow them to simply plug and play. Apple's superior distribution strategy allows customers to be exposed and directly use the products and software before deciding to purchase the technology. Finally, Apple takes great pride in the practice of secrecy throughout the company. Each new innovation is kept top secret through a closed-door policy, only allowing certain individuals to view the product plans. Even some employees are kept in the dark due to fear of leaked information.
Apple has many competitive advantages, the main being their vertical integration between products and services they offer. Competitors like Microsoft have observed the success Apple has had from their vertical integration, and they have began trying to imitate certain aspects like opening their own retail stores. However, it will be very hard for any competitor to fully imitate what Apple has created. Apple is able to produce their own hardware and software, as well as sell their own products through their online store as well as their own retail locations. Apple has a protected ecosystem where only Apple devices can run iOS, but with programs like Parallels, you can also run any Microsoft software on a Mac computer. This also allows them to have control on how each product will be integrated with each other and other product lines. Apple's brand is also key to their overall competitive advantage. They promise their users easy-to-use products that are the most innovative at the time of release. This company has had an advantage over other companies by figuring out what the customer wants before they know what they want. Apple is facing some challenging questions that the company will have to answer over time. Apple has become extremely dependent on the iPhone, with the device's product line accounting for 69% of the company's total revenue. With that being said, the first question is, will Apple be able to generate meaningful growth within its other product lines? CEO Tim Cook believes that the Apple Watch, Apple TV, and Apple Pay are poised to take the next step in terms of growth. This is yet to be determined. Another challenge Apple faces is saturation. The market for tablets, computers, and smartphones have each become extremely saturated. The question becomes how Apple will respond to these market saturations. An answer for this question could lie within the company's creativity and innovation, which leads us into our next question for Apple. Will Apple be able to create new products that are meaningfully innovative? The expectations for Apple are high. They're expected to innovate and continue to bring new, successful devices and software upgrades to the market. Will Apple innovate by creating a completely new product line, or will the company provide exceptionally new features to some of the devices that are still in their embryonic stages, such as the iWatch and Apple Pay? How Apple responds to these challenges will shape tech giants' future. We have high expectations for Apple Pay since they have many big-name retailers on board, as well as many of the nation's largest banks and credit card companies to support it. Some of these retailers include McDonald's, Macy's, and Whole Foods. while the two of the nation's largest banks, Bank of America and Chase, are linked with Apple Pay. This makes payment transactions very easy for iPhone and iWatch users. And Apple Pay is not only for convenience, it is also more secure than carrying cards around because it does not use your real credit card number. Instead, it gives the vendor a random code that the bank then matches to your account. This is called payment tokenization, which makes the fake code worthless to hackers. The Apple iWatch is an industry that is highly unproven, but Apple hopes to be the gold standard for smartwatches. They plan to beat out competition by offering the best smartwatches on the market that can connect with the rest of Apple services such as iCloud, iTunes, and Apple Pay, as well as work as a health monitor.